another episode of Jay Leno's Garage Restoration Blog. People seem to like these. They enjoy seeing the projects we've been working on. Some of these projects we've been doing for 10 years, like the Benz Mercedes, you know, the one we had to make the brass jackets for the water cylinders. That really was a 10-year project. This one moved pretty quickly. This is a 1968 Firebird, but it's a Firebird with a difference. You know, when John DeLorean was running Pontiac, he was enamored of the Jaguar XKE, just thought it was the coolest car. And he thought that Pontiac should have a cool six-cylinder car like that. So they took a Chevy 6 and they kind of jury-rigged an overhead cam deal with it and ran with a rubber belt. The first overhead cam six-cylinder engine, I think, in American production, certainly in a long time. It wasn't a big success, but I thought it was a pretty cool car. Being a 6, it was a lot lighter, so it made the Firebird handle a little bit better. Had a big quadrijet on it, a 4-barrel, had headers. It put out about 215 to 225 horsepower. Trouble was, by the time you put all those performance options on the 6, it cost as much as an 8, and most people said, well, why don't I just get a V8, you know? But I just liked them because, well, I'll show you on the hood where they say 4.1 liter, you know, all this kind of stuff. Anyway, this is one of those. This is a rare car. This one was ordered by a guy with all the high-performance six-cylinder options, 4-speed transmission, plus it had a fold-down rear seat, a whole bunch of other things. I guess this would be a resto mod. We're keeping the original drivetrain. We're putting in a Tremec 5-speed. You know, the great thing about Tremec transmissions, they drop right in. I'm putting one in a Maserati that I got. Now, I can find gears for that Maserati and spend $12,000, or for like $1,200, whatever it is, I can buy a brand new Tremec 5-speed that's bulletproof, and that's probably what we're going to do. What we did with this one is John Hotchkiss, you know, Hotchkiss suspension, those guys are great. They did the suspension for my 7-liter Ford, you know, that 66 Galaxy that we did, all kind of NASCAR suspension on it, really nice. He has a custom setup for these. It's pretty much turnkey stuff. You buy it, you put it in here, and it fits perfectly. You know, when you get these cars like Camaros and Mustangs and Firebirds, there's so many companies. We've been using Year One, and they do a great job. Everything is available. Every part is available for these cars. So that makes the restoration move pretty quickly. You know, I'm usually dealing with old stuff, Duesenbergs, things. I found an original fender, we can hammer it out, you know. But nah, you can just buy whatever part you need. So that makes it kind of nice, and that's what made the restoration move along pretty quickly. The interior is from them. Look at the interior. It's all exactly as it was stock. You can't tell it from stock. We've got the rear seat that folds down. Oh, and of course, Willwood disc brakes all the way around. You know, we use Willwood on everything because they can adapt to anything. They made brakes for my 58 Imperial. You know, and that was really the biggest handicap in that car. It just, you could slow down swiftly. You just really couldn't stop. Now with discs all the way around, I can fly up canyons, and it's hilarious. It's really good. It's really good. So we've got the engine now at Ed Pink's engine shop. You know, Ed Pink does all those Singer motors, you know, for the Singer Porsches. So he's been rebuilding that 6-cylinder engine for us, doing the cam and everything. Hopefully we'll get maybe about 250 horsepower, I'm hoping. We'll hook that to the Tremec 5-speed, and I think this will be just a fun, sporty, good handling car when we're done. So we're getting there, we're getting there. Let's move on. Come on, I'll show you another project. Okay, here's a car we thought was finished, had to start all over again. This is that Kleiber. This is that unusual car you might have seen in the last restoration blog. It was running, it was fine. The roof was rotted out, we fixed that. We're just making it drivable. This car is unique because it's the only car manufactured in the city of San Francisco. And why that was interesting is because it had massive brakes. It was basically a truck chassis with the biggest truck brakes you could find with a sedan body on it. And the idea was you could go up and down the hills of San Francisco. You know, in the old days, now with modern disc brakes, cars can stop on hills, but they really couldn't in the old days, just go sliding down, you know. Oh, and then one day I noticed, oh, I think we had a little water in the oil. That's not good. So fearing, well, maybe it's just the head gasket, took the head off, slight crack in the block, slight crack in the head. We sent the head off to our friends up there at Lock and Stitch. You know, they can fix any kind of metal. You know, if you've got a I had an Indian motorcycle, you know, that Chief I had, it was all spider webbed and cracked inside. And they managed to fix it without any heat or any distortion. So they fixed the head on this Clyber, and then we sent the block out and figured, let's just do pistons and rods and everything and make it a brand new 1927 car again. Because it really stops unbelievable. It's a good car, but I thought it was done. I was just going to use it exactly as it appears to drive around. But then, no. No free lunch, so. But it'll be a good car when it's done. Come on, let's move on to the next project. You remember that white steam car that Jimmy was making a body for last time we were here? Show the picture. Well, let's see how far he's come. Oh, good, you got the door finished. Very nice.
Yeah.
Cool, that looks great with the brass trim around here.
Yeah, it matches the same trim that's on the front of the hood.
Right.
And we got the latch all finished. And this is going to be the piece that holds it, like the original ones.
Yeah.
And then now inside here, we're working on all the clearance and all the framework that goes around all the stuff.
Right.
And finalizing that, and we're going to make the bottom floor of the trunk, and this section's finished. And then we're going to be moving on to the burner and the plumbing. And we should get pretty close.
Yeah, what we had here was just the chassis of a white steam car. I mean, this never existed from the factory, but it looks sort of like the races of the period, the way they used to do it. And it's a two-seater. We could have made it a four-seater, but I got some four-seater whites. So we thought it'd be fun, since we're starting from nothing. We had no body at all. So we've just made all these pieces, and I think it'll be fun. It'll look cool when it's done. It'll look like a racer.
Yeah, kind of like a runabout race.
Yeah, these are quite fast, actually. And with the brass trim here combined with this is all white, it'll look great. It looks good, Jimmy. Terrific,
Thanks,
terrific. Yeah, cool.
The only thing we want to finalize is probably going to be the extra fill hole here for the tank.
Right.
I'll locate that so you put the extra water.
So we get extra water, so we don't have to stop every 150 miles.
Yeah, you only go 500 now.
That's right. So now we can go. We can beat Tesla.
That's right.
That's right. With alternative fuel. Steam, it's coming back. Okay, let's go see what else we got. If this portion of the video looks different, it's because it is. You know, the coronavirus has hit, so the camera crew is gone. We sent everybody home. So we're just shooting this little section on our iPhone. Obviously, we did most of this restoration vlog about a week ago. Now the virus has hit, so everybody's gone home. But it gives us time to work on stuff. We pulled the engine out of the Doble Steam Car. Come on under here. This is where the engine goes, obviously, driving the rear wheels. The whole engine is placed right here. It's a flat four-cylinder engine, a compound engine, high pressure piston, low pressure piston. Well, here, let's, I showed you where the engine went. Let's go look at the actual engine right now. Come on. Well, if you've been to this website, you know long-suffering George. He's our head mechanic here, does a great job. He's pulled the engine out of the Doble. Explain what we have here. This is, well, this is your,
I call this the whole drive unit.
Drive unit. There is no transmission. If there was, it would be right here. Your pistons are up here, and you know what, we should show them on the chassis how this works.
Yeah.
But let's show them our problem, and then we'll show them that. Our main problem is the fact that the piston rings have collapsed. These are piston rings here.
That's actually the valve, but they have rings.
Yeah. Well, here, let me show you. Start with the piston. You're correct.
This is high pressure piston.
High pressure piston and low pressure piston.
Low pressure.
And as you can see, well, there's no ring on that one, but the rings are on here, but as you can see, they're completely collapsed. This is running at 800, maybe even 1,000 degrees. I don't know what it's running at. Pretty damn high. And these are cast iron rings. We had them made, but they just couldn't take the heat. Eventually, they lost all their spring, so the steam would go right past here, and obviously wasted power and wasted energy. This is your low pressure piston, so your piston rings go right in there. You got a couple of rings there, George? Just show them.
Yeah. This is an old ring. It's really pliable now. It's changed its form. It should be a little, these rings new would bend, but not this much.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do this with an automotive ring, it'll break. But they've just lost their spring.
You see, they've lost the ability to bounce back. Well, it's bouncing back a little bit, but not not enough under pressure. And that's the problem. Once the steam gets past here, just like a internal combustion engine, if there's no ring, the power will go by the piston, and so you lose horsepower.
We didn't really know about this because we took it apart for a big steam leak.
Right.
That was good. And the packing, in order to change the packing, which was blown out, the pistons had to come out. And we were hoping to find that these rings were going to live, but they didn't.
No, so we got to have new rings made, and the rings about $30 a piece, something like that.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound bad until you realize we need about 50 rings. 60 rings. Yeah,
a lot.
It gets a little pricey.
Probably 80 rings, 2 sets.
Yeah. That's basically it. Okay, here. The valves go in here, and the valves have rings as well. Notice how many rings there are. You got 4 sets of 3 right there.
It's almost a dozen.
That's almost a dozen rings, as George said. Yeah. See, George went to public school.
Yeah, Winslow, Maine.
Come on, I'll show you on the chassis how this whole thing goes together. Come on. This is what the engine looks like when it's in the car. Once again, we apologize for the video quality because we're just shooting on an iPhone. Yeah, see. Here's the drive unit George was talking about. We replaced the aluminum panel with this clear plastic piece so you can see how everything works. So your pistons are here, high pressure and low pressure. Okay. And you've got your drive here. As your piston comes in, let me show you how this works. You press the button, pistons go up and down. These connecting rods, which are the longest connecting rods in the history of the world, turn the crank. You don't need a transmission because you've got 1,000 foot-pounds of torque from rest. So those are your drive wheels. And off the crank, you have this drive here that runs the water pump and the fuel pump and the oil pumps. Because since water is obviously not a lubricant, you just squirt a little dollop of oil into the cylinders. So we'll have those new pistons rings made and we'll see what happens. We were just losing power because all the steam is going bypassing the pistons because of the rings had collapsed. So we were just using so much water. Instead of getting a couple of 100 miles to a tank of water, we're getting 30 or 40. So hopefully we'll have some new rings made, and we'll keep you posted. Come on, let's see some more stuff. Hey, let me show you something kind of cool. See this? This is the titanium exhaust system for the new Ford GT. I know I may appear super strong, but actually this only weighs, it can't be much more than a few pounds. I mean, it's amazing how light this is. Anyway, this goes on the Ford GT. We managed to acquire a couple of these. I'm putting one on mine. We already did. And this is a buddy of mine's car up on the rack. We're putting this one on his. And we brought in a guy, Jason Hefner. He runs Jason Performance. You're down in Florida, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks. So,
thank you for having me.
Pretty straight. You know, I know they always say stuff is bolt-on. I never quite believe it's bolt-on, but this almost appears to be, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah. We actually had CAD models from the original Ford GT to work with to situate the mounting points and the tips and hangers. So it really does go directly on the car. You know, so many modern cars, you buy something and it just doesn't fit. That's why you want to have guys like yourself who had experience with the factory. Are we ready to put it on here? Should I bring it over? It is ready to go in the car.
Okay. What is this, about 12? Is it 12? It feels lighter than that.
That entire exhaust system is less than 6 pounds.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, there you go. Nice welds on there, look at that. And what do these do here? These come...
These are the hangers. These support.
Oh, just hangers. Oh, okay. It's not okay. I thought it was some sort of oxygen sensor or something, but no.
No. So this system, it goes right on, saves 30+ pounds on the car, makes it sound like a real sports car ought to. Right. Makes it more fun to drive.
And this is the factory system.
We do make this for Ford and Multimatic for their Mark II Ford GT, which is a track-only car.
But it's sanctioned by Ford, is what I'm saying.
It is.
I mean, if somebody's got a Ford GT and they want to get the titanium exhaust system, this is factory approved.
This system is purchased by Ford and Multimatic from us
Right.
for their Mark II car. It has been tested and known to be non-problematic and doesn't
Right.
cause issues. So if you have one of these on your car, they are familiar with it. It's not one of those items that they're going to point the finger at if you have problems with. So.
And this is post catalytic converter. So this is after the catalytic converter. So there's no smog problems. There's nothing like that, right?
Absolutely. The
Right,
stock
right.
catalytic converters and emissions.
Let's show how she bolts on here.
All right, so your stock hangers fit right on there.
Okay.
And this is actually quite a bit easier to install than the factory muffler is to remove.
You want me to do anything here? Okay, we're bolting up right to here, right?
We can hold these flanges in place.
Okay, hold those in place. So you always been a Ford guy, or do other cars as well?
Well, I have always been a Ford guy, even before I was a car guy. But, you know, Ford's been in the family forever. Started with Mustangs, was always a fan of the GT40.
Right, right.
We've done a lot with the Ford GTs since the 2005, 2006 cars. So once you get this situated in here,
Yeah, I mean, you're right there.
just a matter of connecting your flanges and V-band clamps,
Right.
line up the tips, and
And obviously, these clamps go around there to hold it in place. So at this point, it's just a matter of tightening the clamps, tightening the bolts. Look, everything's centered up. It fits perfectly. I was astounded at how little that weighed. I couldn't believe it. I didn't feel like 12 pounds, but that's why I thought it must be at least 12. It's not, it's 6. So that's pretty amazing. So, all right. Well, you bolt that up. That'll be done. And I'm going to show them a couple of other things and then fire up mine so you can hear what it sounds like. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jay.
Once again, our 1914 Detroit Electric. This is a project we've been working on for a long time. You know, we'd work on it for a while, and then you put it away for 4 or 5 months while other things came up, and then we get back into it again. But it seems to be going at a pretty good clip now. We've got these are out of a Nissan Leaf. These are the air-cooled batteries, the lithium-ion battery chargers on each side. But the really cool thing is we wanted to put a sound system in this thing. You know, this has got air conditioning and Bluetooth, and it's 400 volts. It was originally 78 volts, so it should be a lot faster now. But the cool thing is, I wanted to put a sound system in that looked period correct. Now, there weren't any sound systems in 1914 unless you had actual violinists playing in the car. But we found a radio from the 20s. We worked with Bose to come up with a system. But come on, I'll show you. It looks pretty cool. Well, we've got an Emerson radio from late 20s, early 30s. And we've adapted that in here. Jim has done a beautiful job with the woodworking. And we also incorporated the original dashboard from the Detroit Electric. This is the amps and volts and all. This is the air conditioning here. This is your speedometer. And this is your sound system. You see we have some Bose speakers buried in here. And he just did a beautiful job with the wood here. It's not in permanent, it's just sort of sitting there now. But that's basically what it's going to look like. So this thing is going to be really cool. It's a 3-seater. Your bench seat here and then 2 other seats here. And here all your electronics are under the seat. There's your inverter there. You're sitting on 400 volts. That's always comfortable. So it should be cool, especially with air conditioning and Bluetooth, and it'll be really comfortable. And this interior is going to be really kind of frou-frou fancy. So it's been a long project, but I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun. I'm trying to get some kind of coffered ceiling in here. So see how that goes. Come on, let's move on to another project. Okay, this is our 1938 MG. This is the car that has sent our master mechanic George into therapy. Every single thing was broken on this car. Everything. I mean, every part was completely worn out or broken or damaged beyond repair. It's the only car I've had where we've had to do everything every single thing to this car. But we're getting there. You know, this is when George finished, he's like this. He's got to go lie down because this thing has been driving him crazy. But it's getting there, and he's doing a beautiful job. So that's why he couldn't even be on camera to talk about this car. But anyway, it's coming along. The engine is in. This is, as I might have explained, the original engine was so far gone, just worn out, beaten, put away wet. I mean, whatever expression you want. So we've got a little later MG engine in here, so it'll have a little bit more power. It's just going to be a good old girl, just something to run on a Sunday for ice cream or whatever. Anyway, there's not a lot to say here. We're waiting for the carburetors to come back because they, oh, surprise, they needed to be totally rebuilt. They're all busted. What are the odds? It's just hysterical. I've never seen a car in this rough a shape. Hopefully, George, he's on the road to recovery. Come on, let me show you the Will St. Clair. That's really coming along good. This is our Will St. Clair. I've gone over what this car is a number of times. Unique overhead cam V8 engine based on the old Hispano-Suiza Aero engine built by Charles Harold Wills, who worked for Henry Ford. This is about as rare American classic as you could get. It has all the sort of European flavor of any of the exotics of the period, Hispano-Suiza or any of that. Yes, it was built right here in America, right outside Detroit. The company ultimately failed because it was going to be a reasonably priced car, and then by the time they hit the road, they were $4,000 when a Ford Model T was $260. Henry Ford told Wills, nobody wants to go 70 miles an hour because A, there weren't roads you could go 70 miles an hour. But he made a classic. It's a wonderful car. There's so much exciting and unusual engineering in this thing. People think, oh, I put this engine in it, it's from something else. It's not. This is exactly as it came from the factory. Engine, radiator, all that's in. Right now, it's all the tiny details. Bernard is making an exhaust system for it because there wasn't one available. So we got to do that. We'll hang the exhaust and do some of the wiring and the electrics. And right now it's fine tuning, which takes longer than actually everything else is taken. But this is going to be a neat car when it's done, and a fast car. It's fun to drive cars that were considered the fastest thing in their day because they're still pretty quick. You know, like a Duesenberg, you can drive that in modern traffic and keep up with modern cars, and it's still got a rush from it. I mean, it pulls really strong. It's a really torquey motor. This is a small motor, overhead cam. I've never driven one. I've never even heard one run. So I'm really anxious to see how this motor performs. Okay, what else oh, we got one last item. Come on over here. Well, that's my Ford GT right there. You saw the stock, well, this is a stock system, exhaust system we took off. We put one of those titanium ones on, just like they're putting on the silver one. You saw how light that was, 6 pounds. Let's see the difference. Oh, look at it. Yeah, it's much heavier. This is at least 30 pounds, plus you got a few other brackets and stuff there. So this is this much weight hanging off the rear of the car. It feels like a Continental Tire kit hanging off the back now. So I'm anxious to hear what my new exhaust system sounds like. So maybe we'll end this vlog with revving that thing up. See that? Why go to Italy when you can go to Detroit?
Mm-hmm.